after what Fat Joe just said about Joe Budden on his new podcast, shots fired. So we got Fat Joe, Jadakiss, they got a new podcast. I don't know if you had a chance to check it out, but make sure y'all do that. On this podcast, they were having a conversation like every other podcast, like Cam and Mason. They just bringing up different things that are going on in the culture. And one part of this conversation was around the Knicks game that Fat Joe attended. Now, when he attended this Knicks game, every celebrity is in the building. You know, the prices is crazy for the tickets, and Fat Joe happened to see 50 Cent there and saw Joe Buttons. Now, 50 Cent and Joe Buttons, you know, they jabbing at each other on the internet, nothing too crazy. But Fat Joe would take it a little too far when he would refer to where Joe Budden was sitting as the Joe Budden seats. Now, before we get into this clip, you need to know that Joe Budden responded to this. So let's get into the beginning of this, and we'll give y'all a whole breakdown.
I'm out there with my family in Vegas. His manager, they gave me some suspects. Suspect for me is I'm not going 10th row. I'm not going 5th row. I gotta be front row.
So you want all the
because somebody you don't like, your enemy, gonna come sit right at, you know, we call that the Joe Budden seats. You know, them second row.
I don't even got,
got a hoodie.
I don't even got a hood.
Yo, listen, them second, third row, I can't do it.
Now, calling them the Joe Budden seats was wild. That was wild. The boy Jada trying to pull up a hoodie that ain't even there because he just like, yo, this is crazy. But the real deal is like this. First off, let me say my opinion about Fat Joe. He talked too goddamn much. If you agree, right, agree. So he gonna go on a tangent. He always run his mouth. He say a little bit too much. He don't know how to just keep it cordial. But he brought Joe Buttons into this, and like, I don't think he realizes that this is Joe Budden's game, the media game.
It happened to me before. When we just squashed.
If he didn't bump in the 5th, would he had a nice experience?
You got a good seat, but the problem is you got to always expect the enemy might come front row.
Yo, what are you,
no.
What are you thinking?
This man is
trying to tell you the truth. The enemy will come front row. Look what happened to Joe Budden.
That's the only example you can give me.
So let me ask y'all a question. Do you feel like Fat Joe disrespected Joe Buttons with that statement? I mean, don't use me as a joke. And if you use me as a joke, I got the right to respond. And you already know Joe Buttons responding. We about to get into that, though. But I just want to know, do y'all feel like Fat Joe was wrong? I think Fat Joe just talked way too much. So it's like it don't matter what he say. He going to say something else that's just out of pocket. But Joe Budden definitely would get right back in response mode and definitely let Fat Joe know what he felt about that statement.
We be mature and show some discipline and restraint and lead with, I absolutely love Fat Joe. I have all the respect in the world for Fat Joe. Not only Fat Joe, but I'm going to always support anything that Jadakiss does.
For sure.
Anything that Kiss does, he has my support.
That's a fact.
Shout out to J1, shout out to Yonkers. For me, in my 40s, it's been really important to unlearn stupid hip-hop ideology. Like, let me start with, there's nothing to even fight about here. Let's start with, we're talking about a game where the tickets were the most expensive Knicks playoff tickets in franchise history.
Y'all argue about tickets. Like
the cheapest ticket in that building was $600, $700, $800.
A74, Joe.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Knicks fan. Thank you.
A74.
Yeah, that particular.
I got to give it to Joe Buttons, man. He kept it respectable, and that was all cool. All right, I know a lot of y'all like, man, that's cool, but what did he really say? This is when everything kind of changes because Joe Buttons realizes who he's actually talking to. And sometimes you got to be humble in your approach. You can't just jump out there and get mad. And I think Joe Buttons actually handled this real strategic.
Me and 50 have over 20 years in. I never thought that would escalate. And if I feel like that, I just need more than some internet chat for me to feel like that, number one. Number two, if you fight in the garden, you're banned for life. You're not doing it again. And if you're tough enough to fight there during a game, then, my nigga, I don't assume any of us millionaire, multi-millionaire, 9-figure people to do that at the Garden. I just don't. The lights is too bright, and we there to watch a game.
See, a lot of y'all internet people who ain't never been in a scuffle always want to motivate somebody to go crash all the way out and throw it all away. Now, when they don't crash out in a situation, you call them a dummy and you attack them online. But when they do crash out, you call them a dummy and say, why did he do that? So Joe Budden is actually right. These two people are millionaires, and they both old as hell. They both in their 50s. So, yeah, I don't want to see Fat Joe, crooked-ass leg, arguing with Joe Budden at all. That's just not what I want to see, and I don't think it's at that level. Now, if you thought Joe Budden was just going to leave it at that and not really attack the situation, then you must not really know Joe Buttons.
Lastly, maybe Joe Budden seats just means sitting behind somebody you make a lot more than. Until we get clarity on it, we won't really know. But be clear, reimagine how y'all mention my name in some of these conversations. I make a lot more than you niggas. So if I'm seated behind you, it's by choice, enjoying some popcorn with my baby.
Now that a lot sounded really like passionate. You know, he sounded real confident, a lot. So I don't know, like, I don't really get into people's financials because in all reality, you're not going to know but kind of what people put out there. One. Number two, I think that when we talking about longevity, I think Joe Budden has been successful in what he's done for a long time. And I think Fat Joe, you know, he's had some singles that's been successful. I want to know, do you consider any of these guys legends, though? In the rap community? I just want to know, like, you know, I'm talking to my family in the comments, so I want to know, do you guys consider them legends? I think they both I think that Fat Joe is more of a legend than Joe Budden's, but Joe Budden's more of a spitter than Fat Joe will ever be. And that's just my personal opinion.
So, much love to Fat Joe and Jadakiss. I'll continue to support their broadcast. And wait, dog, if I was sitting in the nosebleeds, I make more than you. Like, my seat should never come up in your conversation. If I was outside in a lawn chair watching on a fucking mobile device, my seat shouldn't come up in none of y'all conversation.
Now, Joe Budden was 100% right, man. Where he sit at should have never came up, but it came up. You know, sometimes when you open up the door, it's already open. And I think deep inside, Fat Joe knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. I just don't think that he knows that it could turn on him. You know, it's really on Fat Joe right now because based off of what Joe Budden just said, he opened up the door for what Fat Joe need to say. I mean, I think it's love, but when it comes to the media game, Joe Budden is not about to show no respect in that game. I think Fat Joe coming in as a newbie, you should show respect, though. You know what I'm saying? I like how, you know, Jadakiss ain't really jump out there yet, but I want to see how this mix go because Fat Joe don't mind speaking and just going on and on and on. And I think Jadakiss more so thinks about what he got to say before, you know, he says it. This is the part of the video, man, where I ask you guys to let me know what y'all feel, man. If you got to this part of the video, you the reason why, you know, these videos get pushed out into the algorithm. Hopefully y'all press a like. Hopefully y'all subscribe and hit the top bell. And I got a bunch of stuff on this channel you might like, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out of here.